Now, in this next session, I'm going to be talking to you about sex, but a little bit different than what Pam was just talking about. I'm not coming at it so much from concerns about sexually transmitted diseases and that sort of thing. I'm talking about the emotional impact that sex can have in your life. I'm going to be talking about the power of imprinting, how sex done the wrong way can set you up for failure for the rest of your life in your relationship. I'm also going to be addressing a major problem that we have in our culture today with the whole porn culture and all this encouragement to experiment and to masturbate. A lot of people think it's no big deal. You're about to find out that this stuff can be a really big deal. As I travel around the country and the world dealing with couples, overwhelmingly, the area that they are struggling the most with is this area of sex. You would think, gee, wow, they're finally married, they get to have sex and everything, that everything will be good and groovy and cool, but it's not. And overwhelmingly, it's because of what they did when they were your age. And they picked up stuff that is just a weight on them, and they struggle with it. And I think if parents felt comfortable enough to be really honest with you, you would be stunned at how many of them are really struggling. And again, overwhelmingly, it comes back to what they did when they were your age. But see, it doesn't make sense for me to just be talking to adults 20 years down the road about why they're having such a hard time. It makes more sense to talk to young adults before they go there. So I want to talk to you about this a little bit in this session. Now, sex is a big deal, particularly for most guys. I mean, that's really, guys we're just wired that way. Particularly by the time we hit age 18, we're just, all this incredible buzz and energy because of all the testosterone flowing through our blood. But what's really, so many people don't understand, guys don't understand, women don't understand, is that men tend to imprint on their first sexual experiences. If a guy's first sexual experience is, in the context of lust or the backseat of the car, just, that whole deal, parents aren't home, ooh, let's go do it, and the parents. If that's your first sexual experience, you tend to imprint on that, and it tends to identify you sexually for the rest of your life to a large degree. It's absolutely frightening when you think about it. Again, no one talks about this. You should hear it when I talk to people in their 30s and 40s and 50s with tears in their eyes. They say to me, I wish to God someone would have told us this when we were younger. But what happens is you tend to imprint on that thing, and then that becomes your mark for life. And oftentimes guys keep going back to trying to relive that first experience because they imprint on it. It's kind of like these birds. You ever study about these cranes and stuff in school? That they're not the brightest things in the world, but whatever they see first, they think it's their mother, and they'll follow it for the rest of their life. It's like if the crane is born and it sees a chicken, it will ignore its mother and follow the chicken and die. That's why these cranes, they have to go out in the middle of really secluded places and stuff like that. And the people who work with the cranes actually have to dress up like large cranes. I don't know if it's very funny stuff. People walk around in crane outfits and pretending they have big long noses and stuff like that. Because these cranes, not too bright, all right? Because they imprint on whatever, mama, 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 and they don't quite get it. Well, it's kind of that way in a sexual sense because guys tend to imprint on their first sexual experiences, and it tends to define them. If a guy's first sexual experiences in the idea of messing around and fooling around and lust and, oral sex or whatever different things, he tends to imprint on that. And he tends to imprint more on the sex than the girl. That's why for a lot of guys, the girl becomes virtually interchangeable. I know you girls are mortified by that. What's the matter with guys? Why, how can they go from one girl to the other? Because it's not about the girl. It's just about the experience. And even guys who eventually get their heads straightened out and grow up and then get married and stuff later in life, they still struggle with those same feelings. And some of them will struggle with them for the rest of their lives. Even great Christian guys in churches and stuff like that, they're still struggling with those internal feelings because they want to keep going back to that place. That's why a lot of guys can't stay faithful in their marriages. You think, what's the matter with these people? Why would they cheat on mom? Why would they do? Because for some of them, it doesn't happen for all of them, but overall, it's a huge percentage. They get so buzzed on that first experience, they are constantly trying to relive that experience. If a guy waits until his wedding day to truly experience sex for the first time, he imprints on the girl. It's why those people who wait have the lowest divorce rates in the world. Now, I talked about those women who just have one partner, they have a 20% divorce rate. If these people really did it right on their wedding day, it drops to 5%. And this doesn't, and you don't even have to be a Christian. This is of any culture in the world. Of those who wait, they have a 5% divorce rate. They're the same people, same ideas, same thing. That is the power of the sexual connection. Because now he imprints on the girl. And now that girl becomes his focus. And it's not about any other girl. It's just about that girl that he experiences this with. And he commits to her. And it holds them together for the rest of their lives. It's actually challenging when I talk to adults like this, because a lot of them, they start feeling really bad. I'm not trying to make them feel bad. It's just at some point, they have to be honest about why they're struggling in their lives. And overwhelmingly, it's because of what they did when they were your age. Making the wrong choices, wrong decisions. You know, I know people often say, well, you shouldn't do it. And your teachers might say, well, you know, you probably shouldn't. Be best if you abstain. But there's this, even in churches, there's almost like this underlying theme that you shouldn't, but it's no big deal if you do, as long as you don't get pregnant or get some STD. And on this DVD series, we talk about STDs and all these different things. But we act like, well, other than that, it's no big deal. You need to know something. It's a big stinking deal. I don't care if you ever get pregnant. I don't care if you ever get an STD. When you start jumping into this area in life and doing it the wrong way, it makes life harder for you. And the statistics just scream. There's no way you can deny this. Those who are in and out of it and get very sexually active before they get married start having very high divorce rates later on. Even though they think they found their soulmate, even though they've, together with the kids and everything else, and it tends to rot at them and destroy them. And it is ruining people's lives. It is ruining cultures. A lot of you have been touched by some of this stuff. You don't even know the story in the background of why things fell apart in your families. And overwhelmingly, it points to this period of time. But nobody's talking about it. We act like it's no big deal. Yeah, you shouldn't do it, but it's no big deal. Hey, it's a big deal. You guys, man, you want to do this right, because it will define how you will approach life for the rest of your life. Overwhelmingly, do it right. You girls, pay attention. Now, women are a little bit different. Girls don't tend to so much imprint on sex as what they tend to learn from sex. And what they learn when they have sex at your age is that sex doesn't mean anything. And then they get married and sex doesn't really mean anything. You would be shocked. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in marriages today is that they're having sexless marriages. The wives don't even want to have sex. We deal with it all the time. Women who don't want to sex. I don't want to sex. Shouldn't be about sex. Da, 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 da. Where'd they get an attitude like that? Because they had sex at your age. And they were in and out, and it doesn't mean anything. And, because at your age, it doesn't mean anything. There's no commitment. You might see the guy again. You might never see him again. You might call. You might never call again. And then you pick up and you carry that into your relationship, and it creates a lot of problems. Now, check it out. Science has shown, and again, you can see this on the website, where you can go and look at these studies. Fascinating to go and actually take time. Look at these studies. See what it really says, because you'll see studies there that you're not being told about and you won't see anywhere else. But studies show that when a woman has sex, a girl has sex, there's this endorphin or thing that's released in their bloodstream called oxytocin, and they call it the bonding chemical. It's the same chemical that is released in a woman when she breastfeeds. It's kind of a bonding. It's like God knew that releasing this chemical would help bind her to this little rugrat, okay? And she falls in love with this rugrat, even though it drives me crazy, okay? And they might cry, you just want to stick it in the garbage sometimes, but they won't do that. Why? They're bonded to this kid for life. This is that bonding chemical. Well, the same chemical is released when they have sex, but here's what they've learned. That a woman's level, every time she has sex with a different person, that it drops, the levels are dropping. That's why you saw the statistics we talked about earlier. One partner, 20%. Second one jumps almost 50%. Third one jumps almost to 60%. Why? Because physically, you're no longer experiencing the same level that sex was intended to be every time you add another partner. Again, nobody talks about this. We all say, well, you shouldn't do it. It's smarter if you don't do it. Protect, wear a condom if you do it. But nobody's talking about the impact this really has. This is becoming a disaster. And now what they're telling us today is, for young people, just masturbate. Yeah, just masturbate. It's a fabulous idea. Just masturbate. And the reason why they're pushing you down this road, by the way, is because this is the same stupid culture that wants you to wait till you're almost 30. So they know you want to have sex. You got to do something. You got to do something. So go masturbate. Go masturbate. Man, Christians, I know pastors who encourage their kids to masturbate. Dear God, I don't know what drugs these guys are on. How they cross that line, I don't understand. Jesus said, if a man looks at another woman and fantasizes sexually about her, he commits adultery in his heart. Well, good grief. If just looking at a woman and thinking dirty thoughts is a sin, why in the world is yanking on yourself, for crying out loud? How do you get to where that's not a sin? But why are people saying this? Why are Christians saying, oh, yeah, you can do it. Yeah, just yank on yourself for a while. It'll be fine. Fantasize, look at porn. Yeah, no problem there. No problem. It's like we've lost our minds. Pastors, Christian leaders, some parents. Dear Lord, I have moms come up to me at my seminar saying, well, don't I have to encourage my boys to masturbate? First of all, I can't imagine my mom saying that to me. Man, that'll traumatize her for life, wouldn't it? Your mom saying, you need to masturbate. Oh, good Lord, Mom. But why is she saying this? Because she's bought into the stupid ideas that our culture says, well, they got to do something because we don't want them married too early. No. And we get into this stupid culture that is creating a disaster in guys like you, encouraging you to do behavior that is ultimately very negative. And here's the crazy thing about it. You know what really fries me is when they teach you guys, your teachers, some of you talk about this. You certainly see it on MTV and everything. I mean, masturbating, it's great. It's real fabulous. You can achieve an orgasm by masturbating. Listen to me. You can't. You cannot. It's impossible. Something can happen. A guy can ejaculate. Something can happen for a girl. But it's not an orgasm. An orgasm is when you reach your sexual peak and endorphins are flooded into your body and every cell in your body stands up and grabs the hand of the cell next to it and goes, hallelujah. You can't get there yanking on yourself. Overwhelmingly, people who masturbate will tell you when they do it, they feel icky. They feel dark. It's your body's way of saying, stupid, what are you doing? Okay? But they're encouraging this behavior. Well, you got to do it. Oh, moms again. Well, if my son doesn't masturbate, won't he explode? You will not explode. You will not die. And don't let them dumb you down like that, especially you guys. We're not animals. You're not going to explode if you don't masturbate, for crying out loud. Especially if you're a Christian, you want to do this stuff right. Don't go down that path. It's insane and it's stupid. And here's what's really frying me. What they're not telling you is the following. Is that you start to condition yourself to that behavior, especially at your age. And when it comes time for you to get married and have sex with a real woman, believe it or not, guys stay more addicted to the masturbating. Unstinking believable. I wish you could see. I wish you could see. I mean, how do you put that on video? Nobody's going to get on video and admit it because it's too embarrassing. But I do these conferences. I speak to couples all over the world. And these guys come up to me with their wives. I mean, these gorgeous, drop dead, suck the air out of the room women. And the woman says to me, he doesn't want to have sex with me. And I look at him and think, are you out of your mind? And you know what he says? Yeah, I'd just rather masturbate. I'd just rather masturbate. Oh, yeah, there's a great idea. See, what they're not telling you guys is that the more you do this, the more you condition your body to that behavior, to the point that guys it's a huge amount of guys now who prefer to make love to themselves with their hands than to make love to a real woman. Well, isn't that great? And then some of you girls are going to marry these losers. And then you're going to wonder why he never wants to have anything to do with you, doesn't want to be nice to you, doesn't want to be romantic to you. Why? Because some stupid moron somewhere told you at your age, yeah, just masturbate. Oh, great idea, masturbate. Unstinking believable. In every other area, we know physically, Anything you teach your body to do over and over again, you train your body that way. You guys are in sports. You know what I'm talking about. And you do the same exercises, what? Over and over and over and over again. Why? So that without thinking about it, your body will respond just like that. I don't care if you're in football and you're doing the same drills over and over again. I don't care if you're in track and you're coming out of those blocks over and over again, doing the same exercises over and over and over and over and over and over. And tennis, doing the same stroke over and over again. Why? Because you want to train your body. You keep telling your body to do the right thing at the right time. Your body will do it without thinking about it. Those of you who are musicians, I'm a musician, I'm a piano player. It's one of the things we learn. Guitar player, same thing, any instrument. You practice it over and over and over and over again, so without thinking about it, you just sit down and you just do it. Because you've trained your body. Now, how we think, now when it comes to sex and encouraging guys to masturbate and look at porn, from the time they're your age, some of you guys 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age. Some of you guys get caught up in this behavior, masturbating 2, 3, 5, 7 times a day. Dear God, I don't know where you get the time. Well, you think this isn't going to change your behavior? A lot of girls are into this too. I get it. You think, oh, it's no big deal. It's just something that we're doing until we can get married later. Yeah? You're delusional. That's a drug, by the way. Of course your body's going to respond that way. That's why so many guys today, and sometimes it's the woman. You get married, you think you're going to have a life together, and you're together for a while, and all of a sudden you slip back out. I know guys who prefer to look at porn and masturbate than to make love to their own wives. Women who could never have an orgasm with their husbands because they've so trained themselves to do it by themselves with their little hands. Oh, isn't that great? Isn't that a wonderful idea? Let's get everybody doing that. Christians, I can't believe some of these pastors encouraging you guys to do this stuff. I could give these guys a swirly, man. Tell them this dumb behavior. Why? Again, because they've got to come up with something because they're buying into the stupidity that you got to wait forever. So they got to do something. Well, number one, you don't have to wait forever. And number two, you don't want to get involved in a behavior that can literally retrain your body. I wish you could hear these guys. I wish you could hear them. I know it. Some of you have never heard this before. It's like I dropped in from Mars. Unstinking believable. Guys who cannot, they have sex and nothing happens. With a woman, nothing happens. In my own church. You know, heaven's name, I'm not going to mention their names, God forbid. But tell me, they can make love to their wives and nothing happens. But that they can masturbate by themselves. Oh, isn't that great? Here these guys have ruined their sex lives for the rest of their stinking lives. Because they bought into this stupid idea that, you know, teachers and everybody else has told you, oh, it's good to masturbate. Oh, yeah, just masturbate. Oh, great idea. Get in touch with your body. Not realizing, hey, you can get locked into this behavior and it will color you for the rest of your life. It is not worth it. Crying out stinking loud. Some of these things, they've even got whole websites now dedicated to TMS. Have you heard of this? Traumatic masturbatory syndrome. Guys who have masturbated so much that they can't, their body doesn't even work normally anymore. Oh, that's great. Yeah, a real great plan. It just fries me. I've seen literature. I've seen stuff that they teach in school in sex ed classes that literally teach that it's good for you to masturbate. If you masturbate, it's good for you. It's good for your heart. You'll live longer. La, la, la. See, because what they're doing is they're applying that to normal sex. Because normal sex is true. In a marriage situation, it's one of the healthiest things you can do. And they think, well, masturbating is the same. It's not the same. Just saw a thing on Fox News. Again, we'll try and put the link on the website that comes with the video here that will refer you to, where you can look at the study for yourself. Recent study shows a dramatic risk of prostate cancer for guys who masturbate. Apparently, it's not so good for you after all. Well, you probably never heard that study. So, no one talks about those things. Yeah, it's cool, it's fun to go look at porn and everything else. And honestly, this is again, look at some of these links. Take the time. It'll fry your head reading some of these things. One of the articles on the link that you'll see is not even written by Christians, written by a secular chick. You know, I can tell by their frequent use of the F word. She doesn't write for Focus on the Family. You know, she's certainly not a Sunday school teacher. But she's writing and complaining, but saying, because from the girls' perspective, because women can't compete with these artificial women. Women are all over America. Non-Christian women are complaining they can't compete with the porn the guys are looking at. Unbelievable. And I'll tell you guys, don't get into this behavior. It will ruin you as a man. Be a man. Be a real man. Don't be getting caught up in some stupid behavior where you start. We have men today who don't even act like real men. Instead of being confident lovers to their wives, they sit there and look at images on screens and masturbate. How pathetic is that? And again, all because no one ever told them the risk of what they're doing. Listen, from a moral standpoint, as I said before, it is absolute ludicrous and absurd that a Christian can act in this way and think they're not sinning before God. I don't care what anybody's told you, they're idiots and morons. If you can look at someone with dirty thoughts and that's a sin, how you do this other stuff is not a sin. I don't even begin to understand what in the world they're thinking. Again, the reason they're pushing this, they don't want you to get married too young. To them, that's the worst thing in the world. It's the plague. It's the bubonic plague. They've lost their minds, these people. You have the rest of your lives in front of you. I'm telling you, if you will do this stuff right, it rocks. It is fabulous. Marriage is fabulous. Sex is fantastic. Yeehaw, I love it. But do it right. Don't give a, I mean, how lousy is it? How would you like to be when you're 30, when you're 40, you no longer want to have sex anymore because you've so conditioned yourself to this other behavior. And you girls, talk about the dating process. You find out some guy you're dating is into porn. You get the best tennis shoes you got and run like crazy and get away from him. Oh, it'll be different when we get married. No, it won't. And you, my dear, will be the biggest loser of all. You're the one who will lose out because you'll have a guy who's more interested in being a lover to fantasies than being a real lover to you. Any single girl who meets a guy who will admit that he's into porn and stuff, dump that bum ASAP and move on. This is destroying people's lives. People, look, there's a reason why they're out there and they are divorcing left and right. Half of the ones getting married today end up in divorce. And that doesn't mean the other half is happy. It just means they don't want to go through the hassle of getting a divorce. How did we end up this way? Because of the stupid things we're doing. For the love of heaven, let's start doing this thing right. Refuse to be part of this lust culture and this, you know, they're all saying, oh, it's the key to great sex, you know, lust and fantasize and do all that stuff. You know, just, you know, you can do oral sex and this kind of sex and that sex. It's not really sex. Hey, if it involves this general area, it's sex. Quit playing this game. The girls your age, a little bit older, dating, who are doing everything under the sun, but technically they're not having intercourse. They're saying, oh, it's not sex. It's sex. It's sex. And then these are the women who think, oh, and then our wedding night, when we really have sex, it'll really mean something. You should hear these women talk. They are so disappointed. On what should be the most wonderful night of their lives, they are so disappointed. Because they bought into this lie that it's not sex. Of course it's sex. They have real sex. It's not much different than what they've been doing already. In fact, if anything, it's not nearly as exciting because it's not naughty. I'm telling you, there are serious consequences to this stuff. I know it's easy to blow off the pastor because, you know, well, he's a preacher, he's got to tell us. I'm telling you, forget the pastor, forget the moral thing. I'm just telling you, this stuff will mess with you. Better to do it right than to follow the prescription that all these people are telling you to do and getting caught up in behavior that will have such a negative impact in your life. It is not worth it. Do it right, man. It rocks. The good news is you don't have to wait till you're 49 before you get married. I don't care how old you are when you get married. Parents might have a fit, but goodness gracious, I'm not saying you have to get married young. I'm not saying you have to get married at all. You fall in love, you find somebody you really want, you've gone through this process, you're dating, you're 19, 20. Man, do it right. So what about college? Well, what about it? Every study shows that married people do better in college than single ones. Especially the guys, they're finally getting sex, they can think for 5 minutes now. All the stupidity that you gotta wait to a certain age. Ooh, you gotta have so much money. Ooh, you gotta have so much education. And then they fill in the gaps with masturbating and porn and messing around. It's not quite real sex yet. Is messing people up. I'm encouraging you. I'm pleading with you. You can do whatever you want. It's a free country. But I don't want you to be coming to me in 15 years, pointing to your boyfriend, your husband now, saying he doesn't want anything to do with me. Guys, I'd rather just look at porn. Because then you live the heartbreak of that deal. Do it right, man. Better to do it right. Build your life right. I don't care how old you are. Than to delay and get involved in all this behavior. And nobody in our culture will tell you what I just told you. Not in the secular culture, and hardly at all in the Christian. First of all, in the Christian culture, nobody wants to talk about sex without freak out. It's a miracle they all even got here. But in the secular culture, oh man, they don't want you to know this stuff. They want you doing this stuff. Man, porn is $1 billion industry. And the more you do it, the more it justifies what they did. They're desperate for you to do what they did, and in droves. It justifies the mess that they're in. I'm telling you, don't go down that path. It's not worth it. It's not about me hating you. It's not about God hating you. And if you want to blow off the moral implications, I don't care. I'm just telling you, forget all that. Just from the human, physical end of this thing, it's a lousy path to go down. It's not worth it. Do it right, man. If you do it right, it rocks. Y'all still love me?